Well, the Indian alcohol industry, while is a lot smaller as compared to the global average, but it's growing by leaps and bounds. And a lot of these global MNCs are looking at tapping into this opportunity. And underscoring the India opportunity is the visit which has been made by the chairman of the executive board and CEO at Heineken, Mr. Don van den Brink, who's joining us on the show to talk to us about how 2024 is likely to be for the alcohol industry, especially beer, and how does India stand versus the rest of the global peers. Dolph, hi, good to be speaking with you. Thanks so much for joining us today on ET Now.
Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Dolph, it's interesting that you're joining us from Bangalore, and your visit clearly underscores the kind of potential that India has. But talk to us about your first thoughts on India. What are the growing trends that you're witnessing on the ground, and how confident are you about India growth?
Yeah, I've been lucky to visit India many times over the last decade. And I can't tell you how excited I am from what I'm seeing now on the ground here during my visit in Bangalore and Mumbai. This is clearly India's moment. The reforms, the investments, the raising of standards, and you see consequently, you see growth accelerating across industries and across the economy. And that makes, in our view as Heineken, that India is actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, opportunity that we see for growth in our global footprint.
Okay, looking at the growth opportunity in India, and if not the biggest, one of the biggest, but talk to us a bit more about that. How are you looking at tapping into this opportunity? Because if you look at the Indian markets, it's very, very distinctive in the manner that IMFL formulates almost 70% of the overall market, while beer is much smaller. How do you see this entire market share expanding of beer in India, and what is Heineken doing for it?
Yeah, well, we see India and India's economy at an inflection point, but we also see the potential for the beer category at an inflection point, as hundreds of millions of Indian citizens are, raising their incomes. They're lifted into the middle class, and with that, their living standards are going up, but also their habits, their social routines. People want to enjoy life. People want to go out and hang out with friends. And that's a traditional occasion where beer has been very strong from a global point of view. So we really see a lot of future growth in the category, which already is starting to happen as we speak.
Point taken. But I'm also seeing this trend of, as you pointed out, premium, liquor taking off. And whether it's through your own brands that we have seen, the likes of Queenfisher, etc., or the other categories that have come up, we have seen that as well. Could you talk to us about what else is lined up in terms of the portfolio expansion for the company in India? What more we should watch out for in terms of the new products which are lined up?
Yeah, well, premiumization is a global trend, and indeed it's also very relevant in India. Also, we see an acceleration of our premium portfolio, whether it's brand Heineken, our largest, global premium brand, or more local premium propositions like Ultra and Ultra Max. There's a lot of growth, and we will invest in that growth for the years to come. But also in our footprint, maybe the most important part is the Kingfisher brand, which is, of course, a iconic brand in India. And actually, when you travel around the world, the most famous Indian brand name is actually Kingfisher. And we really also would like to open our global Heineken footprint to sell more Kingfisher to the Indian diaspora and others around the world. And so we're extremely proud that Kingfisher is now part of the larger global Heineken brand family. And also here in India, we believe the brand has still a lot of future growth ahead of it.
Yeah, a lot of legs to go, and a lot of these Indian brands, not just Kingfisher, but the other categories too, are finding its ground in the global market. So that's clearly a plus for India. But what about your other brands coming to India, the likes of Tiger, etc.? Is that something which is planned into the Indian markets?
Yeah, well, first and foremost is, of course, the Heineken brand, which is already available in a couple of Indian states, but it doesn't have a national footprint yet. We're investing a lot in capital expenditure in creating the premium capacity so that we can, make the Heineken brand more available. The Amstel brand has been available now in a couple of years, and we see a lot of future potential there. So we'll keep on looking at international propositions that could be relevant for the Indian consumer. But at the same time, we do believe that the Indian consumer is also really interested in powerful Indian brands that give them a sense of pride, like the Kingfisher brand and some of the other brands in our portfolio.
No, yes, but there is this also increased, trend of the breweries which are coming up, right? Right from Bira to the others as well. How well do you think you're decked up against the competition? Because as you pointed out, it's a growing trend, localization as well.
Yeah, well, and we have seen this in other parts in the world. Actually, people innovating, people investing in premium brands, innovation coming to the category, entrepreneurs coming to the category, it will only help to expand the category. So we believe it's a very good thing. It shows that the category, from a social point of view, is becoming more relevant with the Indian consumers. As I said before, the Indian consumer more affluent, higher disposable income, more urban, and with that comes a difference in lifestyle. And going out and have these kind of quality beer propositions like Kingfisher, like Max, like Ultra, like Heineken are very relevant. So we welcome this step up in competition, because with that comes a step up in innovation, which will only help accelerate the category. And as the market leader in India with around 50% share, that is very relevant for us in further growing and building the category.
Yes, innovation is something which is always welcome, and as a consumer, more choices is always good news. But you talked about your market share, which stands at around 50%. Despite the tough competition, do you see more tailwinds for you to increase that market share further? Is there a target you have in mind?
No, I think we're more focused on capturing the category growth than per se just driving the market share. That's when you're in a stagnant market that becomes very relevant. India is the opposite. As I said earlier, we see this as maybe the biggest growth opportunity we see globally. We are investing heavily. We have, put in more than 8,000 crore over the last few years, in our Indian operations. We continue to invest heavily. So first, it's all about the category and building a brand portfolio and investing in the capacity from a national point of view to make sure that we shape, lead, and participate in that category growth.
Doing that with the kind of capacity expansion that you have planned. But just coming back to the point, Dolphin, we were discussing that a lot of these Heineken brands, the global brands, are also likely to come to India, given the premiumization wave. My question to you is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that most of your dealings in India right now happen through UBL and not directly. If you do bring these global brands, the likes of Tiger, etc., into India, will it follow the same route and come through United Breweries, or there could be some direct participation into the market as well?
So we are a very proud shareholder, majority shareholder in UB, which is a legendary company in India. As Heineken, we really believe beer is a very local industry, a very local business. Across the world, we have these local operations that often have a local public listing, like UB being listed on the Mumbai Stock Exchange. And we really welcome that. We think it's good to have deep roots in the local society, to have local investors, local suppliers, and through UB, we're participating. So any rollout of our international brand portfolio for sure will go through our UB company. I'm stepping away extremely confident and with increased confidence, I would say. When I look to the talent level of our employees, we're hiring from the campuses of the best colleges here in India. The speed that we are digitizing our business, I think some of our other global operations can learn from it. So UB is now a very important and relevant part of our global footprint, and we will continue to invest. We also really are keen to get some of the Indian talents to come out and work in other businesses we have around the world.
You're sounding very confident, and that enthusiasm around India is quite palpable. But since you're talking about the partnership with UBL, I do understand that the stake of the global company right now is around 24.5%. Is there any plans to increase it or decrease it? What's the plan there going forward?
No, so I think our share is, in the low 60s, between 61-62%. So we are, a solid majority owner. But again, We have many, important local shareholders who have been with the company sometimes for decades, and we really like it that way. And I don't foresee any major changes in that regard. Again, I have a lot of confidence in our local UB leadership team. We have some of the best leaders that I've seen running the operation, as we should, given how big the opportunity is and the investment levels that we are committing to.
So before I let you go, Dolf, a question: what are your key talking points or key goals that you're setting for your Indian leadership as you go away? What is that you're asking of them going forward?
Yeah, I think it's back to leading and shaping the category growth, make the category more socially relevant, more moderation, more premiumization, keep upgrading the experiences. It's amazing, visiting the big cities in India and see what's happening with the beer selling outlets, how they're becoming more premium, more quality, more multi-gender. I think we're also really trying to role model that in the company. Next to me, you see an inflated can of Queenfisher, which was actually created by our female colleagues who wanted, around International Women's Day, wanted to have an expression of the famous Kingfisher brand, targeted specifically for female colleagues and consumers. So it's all about leaning in and being a progressive, moderate category and leading that through our operations here at UB.
Okay, and lastly, what are the risk factors, if any, on the annual Dolf? And not just about India, but across the world, because beer as a category saw quite a bit of headwinds in the year gone by. There was actually a decline in the volume of beer sales as well. What's your own estimate or analysis as to how 2024 is likely to be a different year versus 2023?
Yeah, well, indeed, the last 3-4 years, particularly with the pandemic and other disruptions, we have had some headwinds. I'm proud how the category, but also how Heineken has been weathering those headwinds. We closed a solid year last year, good revenue growth, good profit growth. The volume equation was less strong. We really see that coming back this year. We do expect this year to be better from that point of view. For sure, we're putting the investing in our brands and innovations, investing in expanding our capacity. The world is a more volatile place. I think the world is changing from a geopolitical point of view and some other dimensions. So we also need to remain resilient and agile. What is and remains a very important topic is ease to do business. We're happy that the Indian government is making this a larger priority, very relevant for us as a highly regulated industry. But across the board, I'm optimistic about the category globally, but as I said before, particularly here in India.
Last question, Don, and this is coming more out of curiosity as to how you're thinking about it at the company level. A lot of your peers, the likes of, AB InBev, etc., have moved on to even whiskey and wine as a category, but you have remained into the beer category itself. Are you looking at perhaps expanding your portfolio beyond beer, or that's going to be the mainstay?
Well, we are first and foremost a beer company, never say never. But at this moment in the foreseeable future, we're big believers in beer. We believe beer is a beverage of moderation. It fits in the way the social norms are evolving in India, the way we want to expand the category. And there's still plenty of opportunity to remain fully focused on the beer category itself.
Well, salute to that. Thanks so much, Dolf, for making time and speaking with us. I should say cheers, perhaps, but maybe when you come down to Mumbai, we can do that. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with ET Now. Absolutely a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that's the commentary coming in from the global major Heineken, saying that India, of course, is a growth story, perhaps one of the biggest growth story, and it's India's moment. They're clearly committed to the partnership with United Breweries, and whatever foreign brands are likely to come into India will happen through this route, though they don't anticipate a big change in their shareholding at this point of time into the United Breweries company as well.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.